wow. Ah, wow. Ah, wow. Hello. Is anybody out there? Is anybody bringing bear? Hello? Hello? Hello! Welcome back to KICKSTART Storytime. We were reading Warriors Into the Wild. Because of course that is the first book I would start with. Welcome everybody. We still have the set that I'm very, very proud of. Check it out. For anybody that missed it, this is our set for KICKSTART Storytime. Let me put my arms away. This is our set. Very cool. I don't have my drawing board today, but usually I do have a drawing board. I normally have a drawing board over in let me point to it. Over in this corner right here. But I don't feel like drawing today. I just want to freaking wean. And so we are just freaking reading. Is everybody excited? Was there anybody who like who missed the last one? In case I need to like summarize what happened. Cause I'll be honest, I mean, yeah, like, okay. So last time, in case you weren't here, we followed. This is the last one. 30-second recap. Go. Okay. We meet our protagonist, Rusty. He's a house cat that really wants to go hang out in the wild, and then he meets, this murder cult of forest cats, and they run like a warrioristic society, and he decides to join. And now instead of Rusty, his name is Firepaw because he's orange, and he has a BFF named Gray Stripe. And there's a little bit of there was a tragedy. There's a tragedy. When he first joined the clan, the second in command of the clan, Redtail, had been murdered supposedly by the second in command of a rival clan. That's what they're called, clans. Let's go, dog gonna read to me while I'm sick. Exactly! It's a bedtime story. Yeah, besides that, there's also a big buff cat living in the clans called Tiger Claw. And as of right now, Firepaw thinks Tiger Claw is really freaking cool. And I think where we left off, Firepaw had just killed his first prey. And then, yeah, and now we're on chapter 6. We went through the first 5 chapters last time. I just looked at how many we have. You guys can hear, I have the actual book, by the way. I'm not reading the PDF. Look, listen to this. That ASMR, we have a real fucking book that I'm reading. So yeah, we have like 24 chapters in this book. It's not too bad. It's a young adult's novel. It's, how many pages is this? It's only 272 pages. Not too awful. I think we can get it done in like the next maybe like 2 months, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Let me get my book back out. Real books are better than ebooks. You're so right. I love real books. I like feeling their paper, and bonus points if they have like recyclable paper. I love that shit. Or recycled paper. That's what I was gonna say. But anyways, my little flea bags. Call me crazy, but I love the smell of real books. I do too. I don't know anybody who doesn't like the smell of real books. Very nice smelling. Very distinct. Very epic. What was I doing? Let me take a sip of tea. I have tea. Cause my throat been hurting lately. I think it's just really dry where I am. Yeah, let's continue. We left, let's see. Right now we're on chapter 6. Let's see if we can knock out another 5 chapters. Or so. We'll see. Okay, are you guys ready? Are you settled in? Are you cozy? Are you comfy? Do you have a nice little mug of hot cocoa with marshmallows or something like that? Perhaps, maybe, like, just just a little bit of Coke. Alright. Well, if we're ready, let's freaking do it. Let's get into this freaking thing. Alright. Chapter 6. Cozy and comfy. Let's go. Chapter 6 of Warriors into the Wild. Early morning sunlight streamed down onto the forest floor as Firepaw roamed in search of prey. 2 moons had passed since he had begun his training. He felt at ease in this environment now. His senses had been awoken and educated in the ways of the woods. Firepaw paused to sniff the earth and the cold, blind things that moved within it. He caught the scent of a 2-leg that had wandered the forest recently. Now that Greenleaf was fully here, leaves were thick on the branches and tiny creatures were busy beneath the carpet of leaf mold. Firepaw made a lean, strong shape as he moved silently through the trees. All his senses alert for the scent trail that would end in a swift kill. Today, he had been set his first solo task. He was determined to do well, even if his task was only to bring back fresh kill for the clan. He headed for the stream that he had crossed on that first trek through the Thunder Clan hunting grounds. It gurgled and spattered as it ran downhill over the smooth, round pebbles. Firepaw paused briefly to lap at the cold, clear water, then lifted his head and tested the air again for any scent of prey. The stench of a fox lay heavy in the air here. The smell was stale, so the fox must have drunk here earlier in the day. Firepaw recognized the odor. He had smelled it on his first visit to the forest. Since then, Lionheart had taught him it was fox scent, but, apart from the glimpse of the fox's brush he had caught on that first outing, Firepaw had still never seen one properly. He struggled to screen out the fox stench and concentrate on prey scent. Suddenly, his whiskers prickled as he homed in on the warm blood beat of prey, a water vole busy about its nest. A moment later, he saw the vole. The fat brown body was darting back and forth along the bank as it gathered grass stalks. Firepaw's mouth watered in anticipation. His last meal had been many hours ago, but he dared not hunt for himself until the clan had been fed. He remembered the words repeated by Lionheart and Tigerclaw time and time again. The clan must be fed first. Dropping into a crouch, Firepaw began to stalk the little creature. His orange belly fur brushed against the damp grass. He crept closer, his eyes never leaving his prey, almost there. Another moment and he would be near enough to spring. Suddenly, there was a loud rustle in the fern. Oh, hi, Nico! Sorry. I have a bush beard. Does that count as hot cocoa? Yes, absolutely it does. Where is that? Suddenly, there was a loud rustle in the ferns behind him. The water vole's ears twitched and it disappeared down a hole in the bank. Firepaw felt the hackles rising along his spine. Whatever had ruined his first good chance of catching prey would have to pay. He sniffed the air. He could tell it was a cat, but he realized with a jolt that he couldn't identify which clan it belonged to. The stale stench of fox still confused his smell sense. A low growl rose in his throat as he began doubling back in a wide circle. He pricked up his ears and opened his eyes wide, seeking out any movement. He heard the undergrowth rustle again. It was louder now, off to one side. Firepaw edged closer. He could see the ferns moving, but the fronds still hid the enemy from view. A twig snapped with a sharp, crackling noise. From the noise it's making, it must be big, Firepaw thought, preparing himself for a fierce battle. He leaped for the trunk of an ash and climbed swiftly and silently up to an overhanging branch. Below him, the invisible warrior came closer and closer still. Firepaw held his breath, judging his moments as the ferns were pushed aside and a large grayish shape emerged. Grar! Grar! The battle cry rumbled in Firepaw's throat. Claws unsheathed, he launched himself at the enemy and landed squarely on a set of furry, muscular shoulders. He dug in hard, gripping with thorn-sharp claws, ready to deal out a powerful warning bite. What was that? The body below him shot straight up in the air, carrying him with it. Greypaw, Firepaw recognized the astonished voice and caught his friend's familiar smell, but he was too fired up to loosen his grip. Ambush! Brow! Brow! Spat Greypaw, not realizing that the cat gripping onto his back was Firepaw. He rolled over and over and attempted to dislodge his attacker. Oof! Firepaw rolled with him, squashed and flattened beneath the heavy body. It's me! Firepaw! He yelled as he struggled to pull free and sheathed his claws. Rolling away, he sprang to his feet and gave himself a shake, which rippled all the way along his body to the end of his tail. Greypaw! It's me, he repeated. I thought you were an enemy warrior. Greypaw rose to his feet. He winced and shook himself. It felt like it, he grumbled, twisting his head around to lick his sore shoulders. You rigged me to shreds. Sorry, Firepaw mumbled. What was I supposed to think, with you creeping up on me like that? Creeping up? Greypaw's eyes were round with indignation. Oh, fuck, it's been a while since I've heard that fucking word. That was my best stealth crouch. Stealth? You still stalk like a lopsided badger, Firepaw teased. He flattened his ears playfully. Greypaw gave a hiss of delight. I'll show you, lopsided. The two cats leaped at each other and began rolling over and over in a play fight. Greypaw swiped at Firepaw with a hefty paw, and the young apprentice's head buzzed with stars. Oof! Firepaw shook his head to clear it and launched a counterattack. He managed to get in a couple of paw strikes before Greypaw overpowered him and held him down. Firepaw let his body go limp. You give up too easily, mewed Greypaw, loosening his grip. As he did so, Firepaw sprang to his feet, firing Greypaw off his back and into the undergrowth. Firepaw leaped after him and pinned him to the ground. Surprise is the warrior's greatest weapon, he crowed. Weapon. Quoting one of Lionheart's favorite phrases. He jumped nimbly off Greypaw and began to squirm around in the leaf litter, enjoying his easy victory and the warmth of the earth against his back. Greypaw seemed unbothered by his second defeat of the morning. It was too fine a day for a bad temper. So how are you getting on with your task? He asked. Firepaw sat up. I was doing just fine till you came along. I was about to catch a vole when your noisy trampling frightened it off. Oh, sorry, mewed Greypaw. Firepaw looked at his crestfallen friend. That's okay. You didn't know, he purred. Anyway, he continued. Ugh. Shouldn't you be heading to meet the patrol on the Wind Clan border? I thought you had given them a message from Blue Star. Yeah, but there's plenty of time. I was going to do a little hunting first. I'm starving. Me too, but I've got to hunt for the clan before I can hunt for myself. I bet Dustpaw and Sandpaw used to swallow a shrew or two when they were on hunting duty, snorted Greypaw. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but this is my first solo assignment. And you want to do it right, I know, Greypaw sighed. What is the message from Blue Star anyway? Firepaw asked, changing the subject. She wants the patrol to wait at the Great Sycamore until she joins them at Sunhigh. Seems that some Shadow Clan cats have been prowling around. Blue Star wants to check things out. You'd best get going then, Firepaw reminded him. The Wind Clan hunting grounds aren't too far from here. There's plenty of time, answered Greypaw confidently. Hi, sheep!
Sorry.
Hi, sheep!
Came to grab something.
Reiji, hello! How do I envision the fight scenes in this book? Imagine two cats going crazy. Have you ever seen cats fight each other? That's what it looks like. Except like slow motion and cooler.
Hello, everybody.
Everybody say hi to sheep!
Very good. Okay. You can stop being embarrassed now. I'm leaving.
Okay. Okay, back to it. Where was I? There's plenty of time, answered Graypaw confidently, and I suppose I should help out after losing you that vole. It doesn't matter, Firepaw mewed. I'll find another. It's such a warm day, there should be quite a few out and about. True, but you still have to catch them, Graypaw nibbled. Graypaw nibbled at a front claw, stripping off a piece of the outer sheath thoughtfully. You know, that could take you until way past sunhigh, maybe even until sunset. Firepaw nodded without enthusiasm as his belly gave a rumble. He would probably have to make 3 or 4 hunting trips before he had caught enough prey. Silverpelt would be in the sky before he got a chance to eat. Silverpelt, by the way, it's the stars. They call it Silverpelt because cats. Graypaw stroked his whiskers. Come on, I'll help you get started. I owe you that at least. We should be able to catch a couple of voles before I have to get going. Firepaw followed Graypaw upstream, glad of the company and the help. The fox stench was still in the air, but suddenly it smelled stronger. Firepaw paused. Can you smell that? He asked. Graypaw stopped and sniffed the air too. Fox. Yeah, I smelled it earlier. Doesn't it smell fresher to you now, though? Firepaw asked. Graypaw sniffed again, opening his mouth lightly. You're right, he murmured, lowering his voice. He swiveled his head to look across the stream at the bushes in the woods beyond. Look, he whispered. Firepaw looked. He saw something red and thick-haired moving among the bushes. It stepped into a clearing in the undergrowth, and Firepaw saw a low body, glinting red in the dappled sunlight. Its tail was heavily furred, and it had a long, narrow snout. So that's a fox? Firepaw whispered. What an ugly muzzle. You could say that again, agreed Graypaw. I was following one of those when we first met, whispered Firepaw. More likely it was following you, idiot, hissed Graypaw. Never trust a fox. Looks like a dog, behaves like a cat. We must warn the queens that one has strayed into our territory. Foxes are as bad as badgers when it comes to killing young kits. I'm just glad you didn't catch up with the one you saw last time. He would have made mouse meat out of a tiny scrap like you, Firepaw. Firepaw looked a little put out, and Graypaw added, You'd stand a better chance these days, though. Anyway, Blue Star will probably send a warrior patrol to scare it off. Put the queen's minds at rest. Silverpelt is the stars in the skies? Yeah, that's what Silverpelt is. It's also another name for StarClan. But they call it Silverpelt because it's stars. It looks like a pelt. Let's see, where was I? The fox had not noticed them, so the 2 apprentices continued along the stream. So what does a badger look like? Firepaw asked, as they prowled along, sniffing to either side. Black and white, short legs. You'll know one when you meet one. They're bad-tempered, lumbering animals. They're less likely to raid the nursery than a fox, but they have a vicious bite. How do you think old Halftail earned his name? He hasn't been able to climb a tree since a badger bit his tail off. Why not? Scared of falling. A cat needs his tail if he wants to land on his feet. It helps him spin in midair. Firepaw nodded in understanding. As Firepaw had predicted, hunting was good that day. Before long, Graypaw had pounced on a small mouse, and Firepaw had caught a thrush. He quickly took its life. No time to practice killing techniques today. There were too many hungry mouths waiting back at camp. Firepaw kicked earth over the prey so that it would be safe from predators until he came back for it. Suddenly, a squirrel broke cover. Firepaw burst into action. After it, he called, pelting at full stretch over the springy woodland floor with Graypaw at his heels. They slid to a halt as the squirrel scampered upward into a birch. Lost it, Graypaw growled in disappointment. Panting, the 2 cats stopped to catch their breath. The acrid stench that hit their mouths and noses surprised them. The Thunderpath, Firepaw mewed. I didn't realize we'd come so far. The 2 cats edged forward to peer out of the forest at the great dark path. It was the first time they had been here alone. A trail of noisy creatures growled along the hard surface, their dead eyes staring straight ahead. Yuck, Greypaw snorted. Those monsters really stink. Okay, also, side note for anybody who's just joining us for this, the Thunder Path is a road. The monsters are cars. So, just so you're not lost. That's what the cats call it. Firepaw twitched his ears in agreement. The choking smells made his throat sting. Have you ever been across the Thunder Path? He mewed. Greypaw shook his head. Firepaw took a step out of the cover of the forest. A border of oily grass lay between the trees and the Thunder Path. He crept slowly out onto it, and then shrank back as the stinking monster hurled past. Hey, where are you going? Greypaw mewed. Firepaw didn't reply. He waited till there were no monsters in sight. Then he edged forward again, across the grass, right to the edge of the path. Cautiously, he reached out a paw to touch it. It felt warm, almost sticky, heated by the sun. He looked up, staring across the Thunder Path. Was that a pair of eyes glinting out of the forest on the other side? He sniffed the air, but smelled nothing except the stench of the great gray path. The eyes on the other side were still shining in the shadows. Then they blinked slowly. Firepaw was sure now. It was a Shadow Clan warrior, and it was staring straight at him. Firepaw, Greypaw's voice made Firepaw jump, just as a huge monster, taller than a tree, roared past his nose. The wind from it almost toppled him over. Firepaw turned and ran as fast as he could back to the safety of the forest. You mouse-brained fool, spat Greypaw. His whiskers trembled with fear and anger. What were you doing? I just wondered what the Thunder Path felt like, Firepaw muttered. His whiskers were trembling too. Come on, hissed Greypaw edgily. Let's get out of here. Firepaw followed Greypaw as he leaped away into the forest. Once they were a safe distance from the Thunder Path, Greypaw stopped to catch his breath. Firepaw sat down and began to lick his ruffled fur. I think I saw a Shadow Clan warrior, he mewed between licks. In the forest on the other side of the Thunder Path. A Shadow Clan warrior, echoed Greypaw, his eyes wide. Really? I'm pretty sure. Well, it's a good thing that monster came past when it did, retorted Greypaw. Where there's one Shadow Clan warrior, there's more, and we're no match for them yet. We'd better get out of here. He looked up at the sun, which was almost directly overhead. I better get a move on if I want to meet that patrol on time, he mewed. See you later. He sprang away into the undergrowth, calling as he went. You never know, Lionheart might let me come and help you with the hunting once I've delivered this message. Firepaw watched him go. He envied Greypaw, wishing he were off to join a warrior patrol. But at least he'd have something to tell Dustpaw and Sandpaw when he returned to camp. Today he had seen his first Shadow Clan warrior. That's the end of Chapter 6. Blah. And now we're on to Chapter 7. Firepaw retraced his steps and headed back toward the stream. He thought of those eyes burning from the darkness of the Shadow Clan territory. He suddenly caught a faint smell in the breeze. A stranger, perhaps that Shadow Clan warrior. Instantly, a growl rumbled in Firepaw's throat. The scent message told him many things. The stranger was a she-cat, not young, and definitely not from ThunderClan. She carried no distinct scent from any of the clans, but Firepaw could tell she was tired, hungry, and sick. How can you tell? And she was in an ugly mood. Dropping low, Firepaw moved forward, heading towards the scent. Then he paused in puzzlement. The warrior's scent was fainter now. He sniffed again. Suddenly, with a lightning movement, a snarling ball of fur burst from the bushes behind him. Firepaw screeched in shock as the she-cat slammed into him, knocking him sideways. Two heavy paws clamped down onto his shoulders. And iron jaws closed around the back of his neck. Brow! He grunted, already thinking fast. If the other cat were to sink its fangs too deep, it would all be over. He forced himself to go limp, relaxing his muscles as if in submission, and let out a pretend howl of alarm. The she-cat opened her mouth to give a triumphant yowl. Ah, a puny apprentice. Easy prey for Yellowfang, she hissed. At the insult, Firepaw felt a surge of fury. Just wait. He'd show this coughed-up furball what kind of warrior he was. But not yet, he told himself. Wait until you feel her teeth again. Yellowfang bit down. Firepaw surged upward with all the strength in his powerful young body. The she-cat gave a snarl of surprise as she was thrown clear. She tumbled backward into a gorse bush. Firepaw shook himself. Not such easy prey, huh? Yellowfang hissed defiance as she tore herself free from the clinging branches. Not bad, young apprentice, she spat back, but you'll need to do a lot better. Firepaw blinked when he saw his opponent clearly for the first time. The she-cat had a broad, almost flat face, and round orange eyes. Her dark gray fur was long and matted into smelly clumps. Her ears were torn and ragged, her muzzle was traced with the scars of many old battles. Firepaw stood his ground. He puffed out his chest and glared a challenge in the intruder's face. You're in ThunderClan's hunting ground. Move on. Who's gonna make me? Yellowfang drew back her lip defiantly, exposing stained and broken teeth. I will hunt. Then I will leave. Or maybe I'll just stay a while. Enough talk, Firepaw spat, feeling the stir of ancient cat spirits deep inside him. There was no trace of the house cat in him now. His warrior blood was up. He was itching to fight, to defend his territory and protect his clan. Yellowfang seemed to sense the change in him. Her fierce orange eyes sparkled with new respect. Dipping her head and breaking eye contact, she started to back off. No need to be hasty now, she purred in a silky tone. Firepaw wasn't fooled by her trickery. Claws extended and fur on end, he leaped forward, his war cry ringing out. Grah! With a hiss of rage, the other cat responded, snarling and spitting. Young cat and old locked together. They rolled over and over, teeth and claws flashing, ears pressed flat into his head. Firepaw fought to get a grip. But the she-cat's clumpy fur snagged in his claws, and he couldn't break through to the skin. Then, Yellowfang reared up on her back legs. With her filthy tail bristling, she looked even bigger. Firepaw sensed Yellowfang's huge jaws lunging toward him. He leaned backward just in time. Snap! Bared teeth closed on the air next to his ear. Instinctively, Firepaw lashed out with a back swipe. His paw caught the side of Yellowfang's head. The force of it sent shockwaves up his front leg. Yow! Stunned, Yellowfang dropped onto 4 paws. She shook her head to clear it. And in a single heartbeat before the she-cat recovered, Firepaw saw his chance. He threw himself forward, crouching low, and clamped his jaws tight on Yellowfang's back leg. Mwah! Mwah! The taste of the matted fur was horrible, but he chomped down hard. Wow! Wow! Yellowfang screamed in agony and whipped around to snap at Firepaw's tail. Her teeth connected and pain lanced up Firepaw's spine, but it only made him angrier. He ripped his tail from his opponent's grip and lashed it back and forth in rage. Yellowfang crouched ready for their fresh attack. Her breath seemed to wheeze up from her foul-smelling lungs. The scent blasted Firepaw's nose. Up close, the message of desperation and weakness in the aching void of the she-cat's hunger was almost painful. Something stirred inside him, an unwarrior-like feeling he didn't want. Pity. He tried not to dwell on this instinct. He knew his loyalty must be to his clan, but he couldn't shake free of it. You speak from your heart, young Firepaw. Lionheart's words echoed in his head once more. This will make you a strong warrior one day. Then Tigerclaw's warning rang in his ears. Or it might make him give in to his kitty pet weakness right at the moment of attack. Yellowfang lunged towards Firepaw and jerked instantly back into aggression. The bigger cat tried to reach up onto his shoulders and get a killing grip, but this time she was hampered by her wounded leg. Garroff! Firepaw arched his spine, but Yellowfang managed to dig her claws and hung on tight. The bigger cat's weight forced him to the ground. Martin! Hello! I'm so happy you could make it. We're being introduced to my goat, Yellowfang. Yellowfang's my goat. You'll see why. You'll see why. This is my goat. Firepaw tasted earth on his tongue and spat out a mouthful of grit. Pah! He twisted nimbly to avoid Yellowfang's thrashing back legs and the thorn-sharp claws that were trying to rake at his soft underbelly. Over and over they rolled, biting and snapping. Moments later, they broke apart. Firepaw was gasping for breath now, but he sensed that Yellowfang was weakening. The she-cat was badly wounded, and her back legs could barely support her scrawny body. Had enough yet? Firepaw growled. If the intruder gave way, he'd let her go with just a warning bite to remember him by. Never, Yellowfang hissed back bravely. But her injured leg gave way, and she slumped to the ground. She tried to get up and failed. Her eyes were dull as she hissed up at Firepaw. If I weren't so hungry and tired, I'd have shredded you into mouse dust. The she-cat's mouth twisted in pain and defiance. Finish me off. I won't stop you. Firepaw hesitated. He'd never killed another cat before. Perhaps, in the heat of battle, he would. But a mercy killing in cold blood? That was something very different. What are you waiting for? Yellowfang taunted. You're dithering like a kitty pet. Firepaw smarted at the she-cat's words. Could she smell the scent of two legs on him, even now, after all this time? I'm an apprentice warrior of ThunderClan, he snapped. Yellowfang narrowed her eyes. She'd seen Firepaw flinch at her words, and she knew she'd hit a nerve. Ha! She snorted. Don't tell me ThunderClan is so desperate they have to recruit kitty pets now. ThunderClan is not desperate, hissed Firepaw. Prove it then. Act like a warrior and finish me off. You'll be doing me a favor. Firepaw stared at her. He would not be goaded into killing this miserable creature. He felt his muscles relax as curiosity pricked at him. How had a clan cat gotten in such a state? ThunderClan elders were looked after better than kits. Yeah. Sorry, I got a little confused. You seem in an awful hurry to die, he meowed. Yeah, well, that's my business, mouse fodder. Yellowfang snapped. What's your problem, kitty? Are you trying to talk me to death? Her words were brave, but Firepaw could smell the hunger and sickness that were coming off the other cat in waves. She was going to die anyway if she didn't eat soon, and since she could hardly hunt for herself, perhaps he should kill her now. The two cats looked at each other, uncertainty in both in their gazes. Wait here, Firepaw ordered at last. Yellowfang seemed to deflate. Her hackles smoothed out, and her tail lost its gorse bush stiffness. Are you kidding, kitty? I'm going nowhere, she grunted, limping painfully towards a patch of soft heather. She flopped down and began licking her leg wound. Firepaw glanced briefly over his shoulder at her and hissed quietly in exasperation before heading for the trees. Wake up! I'm up! I'm up! I'm up, I swear! As he padded silently through the fern, sun-warmed odors filled his nose, and he caught the sour reek of a long-dead rat. He heard the scratching of insects beneath bark, the rustle of furry things scurrying over leaves. His first thought had been to go and dig up the thrush he had killed earlier, but that would take too long. Maybe he should go and scoop up the rat carcass. Easy meat, but a starving cat needed fresh kill. Only when times were very hard would a warrior eat crow food. Just then he paused, scenting a young rabbit ahead. A few more steps and he saw it. Flattening himself down, he stalked the creature. He was barely a mouse length away before it detected him, but by then it was too late. The white bobtail darting away sent the thrill of the chase surging through Firepaw's veins. A rush of speed, a flash of claws, and he had it. He held the wriggling body fast and finished it off quickly. Yellowfang looked up tiredly as Firepaw dropped the rabbit on the ground beside her. Her grizzled jaw dropped. Well, hello again, kitty. I thought you'd gone to fetch your little warrior friends. Yeah, well, I might still do that. And don't call me kitty, Firepaw growled, shoving the rabbit nearer with his nose. He felt embarrassed by his kindness. Look, if you don't want this, no. Yellowfang meowed hastily. I do want it. Firepaw watched the she-cat rip open the prey and start to swallow it down. His own hunger rose up and his mouth filled with water. He knew he shouldn't be thinking about eating. He still had to take back enough prey for the clan, but the fresh kill smelled delicious. A few minutes later, Yellowfang gave a huge sigh and flopped onto her side. First fresh kill I've had for days. She licked her muzzle clean and settled down to give herself a thorough wash. As you read more and more into this book, I keep looking at my two cats and think, is this how they see the world? Definitely not, I don't think. I mean, at the very least, your cats probably living nice, comfy lives. Not a thought in those heads. As if one wash is going to make much difference, Firepaw thought, his nose twitching. She was the arch cat of stench. He eyed the tattered remnants of the prey. There wasn't much left to line a growing cat's belly, but his fight with Yellowfang had sharpened his appetite even more. He gave in to his hunger and gulped down the scraps. It was delicious. He licked his lips, savoring every last taste, tingling from head to paw. Yellowfang watched him closely, showing her stained teeth. Better than the muck two legs feed some of our brothers, isn't it? She mewed slyly. Knowing she had found his sore spot, she was trying to antagonize him. Firepaw ignored her and began to wash. It's poison, Yellowfang went on. Rat droppings. Only a spineless bag of fur would accept such disgusting frog spawn. She broke off and tensed. Shh. Warriors coming. Firepaw was also aware of cats approaching. He could hear their soft paw fall on the leaf litter and the sound of fur swishing through branches. He smelled the wind brushing against their coats. Familiar smells. These were ThunderClan warriors, confident enough in their own territory not to care about the noise they made. Firepaw licked his lips guiltily, hoping to wash away any traces of the scraps he'd just swallowed. Then he looked at Yellowfang and the fresh pile of rabbit bones that lay beside her. The clan must be fed first. Lionheart's voice rang through his head once more. But surely he would understand why Firepaw had fed this wretched creature. His mind reeled, suddenly fearful of what would happen to him. His first apprentice task, and he had ended up breaking the warrior code. Ooh. And that's the end of chapter 7. Now we're on to chapter 8. Hold. I need a drink. Alright. Chapter 8. Chapter 8. Yellowfang growled in defiance at the approaching paw steps, but Firepaw could sense her panic. The she-cat struggled to her feet. So long, thanks for the meal. She tried to limp away on 3 legs and then winced in pain. Nah, this leg stiffened up while I've been resting. Now it was too late for her to run. Silent shadows slipped out of the trees, and in a heartbeat, the ThunderClan patrol had encircled Firepaw and Yellowfang. Firepaw recognized them. Tigerclaw, Darkstreak, Willowpelt, and Bluestar, all of them lean and hard-muscled. Firepaw smelled Yellowfang's fear at the sight of them. Oh. Does the kitty want to come into the room? Hold. Wretched creature. Does Bishop want to come in?
I think so.
Hello, cat. No? Oh, Bishop! Hello, gummy boy. Alright, back to it. Haktua, as the kids say. Grey Paw followed close behind. He bounded out of the bushes and stood beside the warrior patrol. Firepaw mewed a hasty greeting to his clan, but only Grey Paw returned it. Hi, Firepaw, he called out. Silence! Tigerclaw growled. Firepaw glanced at Yellowfang and groaned inwardly. He could still smell the fear scent on her, But instead of cowering in submission, the scruffy creature was glaring in defiance. My goat! My goat! I love Yellowfang. She's my goat. Firepaw, Blue Star's question was cool and measured. What have we here? An enemy warrior, and recently fed. By the smell of you both. Her eyes burned into him, and Firepaw dropped his head. She was weak and hungry, he began. And what about you? Was your hunger so bad that you had to feed yourself before you had gathered prey for your clan? Blue Star went on. I assume you had a very good reason for breaking the warrior code. Firepaw was not fooled by the leader's soft tone. Blue Star was furious, and rightly so. He crouched lower to the ground before he could speak. There was a loud hiss from Tiger Claw. Once a kitty pet, always a kitty pet. Blue Star ignored Tiger Claw and looked instead at Yellowfang. Suddenly, she looked surprised. Well, well, Firepaw. It seems you've captured us a Shadow Clan cat, and one I know well. You are Shadow Clan's medicine cat, aren't you? She meowed to Yellowfang. What are you doing so far into Thunder Clan territory? I was the Shadow Clan medicine cat. Now I choose to travel alone, hissed Yellowfang. Firepaw listened, astonished. Had he heard right? Yellowfang was a Shadow Clan warrior. Her filthy condition must have masked her territorial scent. He might have enjoyed tackling her more if he had known. Yellowfang, Tiger Claw meowed mockingly. It looks like you've fallen on hard times, if you can be beaten by an apprentice. Now Darkstripe spoke. This old cat is no use to us. Let's kill her now. As for this... Stop hissing at him! Nico... Sorry if you could hear her. Nico keeps sniffing Bishop and hissing at him ever since he got his teeth taken out. I don't know what the hell's going on with her. It's for no reason. He's not even doing anything. He's literally just chilling. And she hisses at him. Whatever. As for this kitty pet, he has broken the warrior code by feeding an enemy warrior. He should be punished. Keep your claws in, Darkstripe, Blue Star purred calmly. All the clans speak of Yellowfang's bravery and wisdom. It may help to hear what she has to say. Come, we'll take her back to camp. Then we'll decide what to do with her. And with Firepaw. Can you walk? She asked Yellowfang, or do you need help? I've still got 3 good legs, the grizzled she-cat snapped back, limping forward. Firepaw saw that Yellowfang's eyes were glazed with pain, but she seemed determined not to show any weakness. He noticed a look of respect flicker across Blue Star's face before the ThunderClan leader turned and slowly led the way through the trees. The other warriors took up positions on either side of Yellowfang, and the patrol moved off, carefully keeping pace with their lame prisoner. Firepaw and Greypaw fell into step together at the back of the group. Have you heard of Yellowfang? Firepaw hissed to Greypaw. A bit. Apparently she was a warrior before she became a medicine cat, which is unusual. I can't imagine her as a loner, though. She's lived her whole life in Shadow Clan. What's a loner? Greypaw glanced at him. A loner is a cat that isn't part of a clan or cared for by 2 legs. Tiger Claw says they are untrustworthy and selfish. They often live around 2-leg dwellings, but belong to no one and catch their own food. I might end up a loner once Blue Star has finished with me. Firepaw mewed. Blue Star is very fair, Greypaw reassured him. She won't throw you out. She certainly seems pleased to have such an important Shadow Clan cat as prisoner. I'm sure she's not going to make a fuss about your feeding the poor old mange bag. But they keep moaning about prey being scarce. Oh, why did I eat that rabbit? Firepaw felt shame burn through his fur. Well, yeah. Firepaw nudged his friends. That was mouse brain. You really broke the warrior code there. But no cat is perfect. Firepaw didn't answer, but trekked onward with a heavy heart. This was not the way he had hoped his first solo task would end. As the patrol passed the sentries who guarded the camp entrance, the rest of ThunderClan came running to welcome their warriors home. What, huh? Where is his teeth? Oh, did you miss it? Did you miss that announcement yet? It was yesterday. Poor Bishop got his teeth taken out because he has a genetic disease where his gums just eat his teeth pretty much. So they had to get his some of his teeth out because otherwise they would snap off and it would be really painful. It does suck, but he still has some teeth, so he's not completely like toothless, you know. How will he eat now? Cats don't need teeth to eat. They just swallow their food. Plus, we feed them wet food mixed in with dry food anyway, so it's pretty easy for him to eat. Nico has nothing but her fangs, like her two top fangs, and she eats kibble and wet food pretty easily. They don't chew? Yeah, they just swallow their food. They just go, I think they'll like squish it in their mouth a little bit, but yeah, they don't really chew. They don't have cheeks. There's no need to chew. Anyways. Where was I? Queens, kits, and elders crowded on either side. They peered curiously at Yellowfang as she was led into the camp. Some of the elders recognized the old she-cat. Word spread quickly through the clan that this was ShadowClan's medicine cat, and a steady jeering hum rose up around them. Yellowfang seemed deaf to the taunts. Firepaw couldn't help admiring the way she limped with dignity through the corridor of stares and insults. He knew she was in a great deal of pain and hungry in spite of the rabbit he had caught for her. When the patrol reached the high rock, Bluestar nodded toward the dusty ground in front of it. Yellowfang followed the ThunderClan leader's silent command, sinking gracefully onto the earth. Still ignoring the hostile stares around her, she began licking her wounded leg. Firepaw noticed Spotted Leaf emerge from her corner. She must have scented the presence of an injured cat in camp. He watched the crowd part to let the young tortoiseshell through. Yellowfang glared at Spotted Leaf and hissed, "I know how to take care of my own wounds. I don't need your help." Spotted Leaf said nothing but nodded respectfully and stepped back. Some of the cats had been out hunting, and fresh kill was brought for the returning warriors to eat. They each took some food and carried it away to the nettle patch to eat it. Then the other cats crowded forward to take their own share. A very quiet hello, dog, as to not disturb story time. Too bad! You already disturbed it. Hello, Growlix! Let's see. Firepaw paced hungrily around the clearing and watched as the cats crouched in their usual groups, chewing and gulping. He longed for a morsel, but didn't dare take anything from the pile. He had broken the warrior code. He guessed that this meant he was forbidden his share in the fresh kill. He paused beside the high rock where Bluestar was sharing words with Tigerclaw. Uncertain, Firepaw looked to his leader for a signal that he was allowed to eat, but the gray cat and her senior warrior were busy murmuring at one another in low tones. Firepaw wondered if they were talking about him. Desperate to know his fate, he strained his ears to hear what they were saying. Tigerclaw's yowl sounded impatient. It's just too dangerous to bring an enemy warrior into the heart of ThunderClan. Now that she knows the camp, even the youngest ShadowClan kit will hear of it. We will have to move. Calm down, Tigerclaw, Bluestar purred. Why should we move? Yellowfang says that she's traveling alone now. There's no reason for ShadowClan to hear of it. Do you really believe that? What on earth was that foolish kitty pet thinking of? Tigerclaw spat. But think for a moment, Tigerclaw, mewed Bluestar. Why would the ShadowClan medicine cat choose to leave her clan? You seem to be afraid that Yellowfang will share our clan's secrets with ShadowClan, but have you thought about how many ShadowClan secrets she might share with us? Firepaw could see the way Tigerclaw's fur begin to flatten, that Bluestar's words make sense. The warrior nodded briefly, then stalked off to take his share of fresh kill. Bluestar remained where she was. She looked out across the clearing, where some of the younger kids were fighting and tumbling playfully in the dust. She then stood up and began to walk toward Firepaw. His heart lurched. What was she going to say to him? But Bluestar walked straight past him. She did not even glance at him. Her eyes were clouded with unknown distant thoughts. "Frostfur," she called out as she approached the nursery. A pure white cat with dark blue eyes slipped out of the brambles. Inside, the noise of mewling grew louder. "Hush, kits," purred the white cat reassuringly. "I won't be long." She then turned to her leader. "Yes, Bluestar, what is it?" "One of our apprentices has seen a fox in the area. Warn the other queens to guard the nursery carefully. Oh, and make sure all the kits less than 6 moons stay inside the camp until our warriors have driven it away." Frostfur nodded. "I will pass on the warning, Bluestar. Thank you." She then turned and squeezed back into the nursery to quiet the crying kits. At last, Bluestar strode over to the pile of fresh kill and took her share. A plump wood pigeon had been left for her there. Firepaw looked on longingly as she carried it away to eat with the senior warriors. Finally, his hunger drove him forward. Greypaw was with Ravenpaw, wolfing down a small finch inside the tree stump. He saw Firepaw approach the pile and flicked his head encouragingly. Firepaw bent his neck, ready to take a small wood mouth for his tea. Wood mouth in his tea. Ah! I have Adagio for strings and war ambience on right now while watching the stream. Ooh! Let's see. "Not for you," Tigerclaw growled, striding up behind him and pawing the mouse away. "You didn't bring back any prey. The elders will eat your share. Take it to them." Firepaw looked over to Bluestar. She nodded shortly. "Do as he says." Obediently, Firepaw picked up the mouse and carried it across to Small Ear. The delicious smell of it wafted up Firepaw's nose. He wanted nothing more than to crunch it up with his strong teeth. He could almost feel its life energy flooding his young body. With great self-control, he laid the prey down in front of the gray Tom and then backed away politely. He expected no thanks and was offered none. Now he was glad that he had gobbled up the remains of the rabbit he had caught for Yellowfang. There would be nothing else for him to eat until he went out hunting again tomorrow. Firepaw wandered over to Greypaw. His friend had eaten his fill and lay with Ravenpaw outside the apprentice's den. He was stretched out on his side, rhythmically washing a foreleg. Greypaw saw Firepaw approach and paused in his licking. "Has Bluestar mentioned your punishment yet?" he asked. "Not yet," Firepaw replied gloomily. Greypaw narrowed his eyes sympathetically and said nothing. Bluestar's call sounded across the clearing. "Let all those cats old enough to catch their own prey join together for a meeting of our clan." Most of the warriors had finished eating and, like Greypaw, were busy grooming themselves. They lifted themselves gracefully to their paws and walked over to the high rock, where Bluestar waited to speak. "Come on," mewed Greypaw. He leaped up. Ravenpaw and Firepaw followed him as he scampered over and nudged his way forward into a good position. "I'm sure you have all heard about the prisoner we brought back with us today," Bluestar began. "But there is something else you need to know." She glanced down at the rattled she-cat who lay very still beside the high rock. "Can you hear me from down there?" she asked. "I may be old, but I'm not deaf yet," Yellowfang spat in reply. Bluestar ignored the prisoner's hostile tone and continued. "I'm afraid I have some very grave news. Today I traveled with a patrol into WindClan territory. The air was filled with the scent of ShadowClan, and almost every tree had been sprayed by ShadowClan warriors. And we met no WindClan cats, even though we journeyed deep into their heartland." Her words were met with silence. Firepaw saw confusion in the faces of the clan cats. "Do you mean ShadowClan has chased them out?" called Small Ear hesitantly. "We can't be sure," Bluestar meowed. "Certainly the scent of ShadowClan was everywhere. We found blood, too, and fur. There must have been a battle, though we found no bodies from either clan. A shocked yell rose from the crowd in a single voice. Firepaw felt the cats around him stiffen with shock and fury. Never before had one clan driven another from its hunting grounds. How can Wind Clan have been driven out? One Eye croaked hoarsely. Blech. We all have the same name, it's fine. Yeah. Ugh. Dry throat, dry throat. Shadow Clan is fierce, but Wind Clan is many. They have lived in the uplands for generations. Why have they been chased out now? Okay. She shook her head anxiously, her whiskers trembling. I don't know the answers to any of your questions, meowed Bluestar. It is well known that Shadow Clan has recently appointed a new leader following the death of Ragged-Star. Their new leader, Broken Star, gave no hint to any threat when we met him at the last gathering. Perhaps Yellowfang has answers, snarled Darkstripe. After all, she is of Shadow Clan. I am no traitor. Nothing would make me share the secrets of Shadow Clan with a brute like you, growled Yellowfang, glaring aggressively at Darkstripe. The ThunderClan warrior moved forward, ears flat, eyes closed to slits, ready for a fight. Stop, yelled Bluestar. Darkstripe immediately halted in his tracks, even though Yellowfang goaded him on with blazing eyes and a ferocious hiss. That's enough, Bluestar growled. This situation is too serious for us to be fighting amongst ourselves. ThunderClan must prepare itself. From this moonrise onward, warriors will travel in larger groups. Other clan members will remain close to the camp. Patrols will travel the boundary edges more frequently, and all the kits must stay in the nursery. The cats below her nodded in agreement. Bluestar continued. Our need for warriors is our greatest obstacle. We shall get around this by speeding up the training of our apprentices. They need to be ready even sooner to fight for our clan. Prop Lore, hello, welcome! We're reading some warrior cats today. I hope you enjoy it. This is my first time catching this live. Well, I'm so glad you could make it. Welcome, welcome. I love murder cats. Let's get back into it, shall we? I'm glad you could make it. Where are we? We shall get around this by speeding up the training of our apprentices. They need to be ready even sooner to fight for our clan. Usually at work at this time. I have today off. Let's go. Huge, huge. Firepaw saw Dustpaw and Sandpaw exchange a thrilled glance. Greypaw was gazing up at Bluestar, his eyes wide with excitement. Ravenpaw just shuffled his paws anxiously. The black apprentice's wide eyes showed worry rather than excitement. Bluestar went on. One young cat has been sharing mentors with Greypaw and Ravenpaw. By teaching him, I shall speed up the training of all three apprentices. She paused and looked down at her clan. I shall take on Firepaw as my own apprentice. Firepaw opened his eyes wide in amazement. Bluestar was to be his mentor. Beside him, Greypaw gasped, unable to hide his surprise. What an honor! It's been moons since Bluestar had an apprentice. Usually she trains only the kits of deputies. Then a familiar voice rose from the front of the crowd. It was Tigerclaw. So Firepaw is to be rewarded, not punished for feeding an enemy warrior when he should have been feeding his own clan? Firepaw is my apprentice now. I will deal with him, answered Bluestar. She stared into Tigerclaw's fierce eyes for a moment before lifting her head to address the whole clan once more. Yellowfang will be allowed to stay here until she has recovered her strength. We are warriors, not savages. She is to be treated with respect and courtesy. But the clan cannot support Yellowfang, Darkstripe protested. We have too many mouths to feed already. Yeah, Greypaw whispered into Firepaw's ear, and some of them are bigger than others. I don't need anyone to care for me, spat Yellowfang. and I'll split open anyone who tries. My goat, my goat, my goat. I love Yellowfang. She's my goat. Friendly, isn't she? Greypaw murmured. Firepaw flicked the tip of his tail in silent agreement. There were muffled meows from the other warriors as they grudgingly recognized the enemy warrior's fighting spirit. Bluestar ignored the murmuring. We shall kill two prey with one blow, as it were. Firepaw, as punishment for breaking the warrior code, it will be your responsibility to care for Yellowfang. You will hunt for her and tend to her wounds. You will fetch fresh bedding and clear away her dirt. Yes, Bluestar, mewed Firepaw, his head. By the way, dirt in this context, when they say dirt in this book, they mean poop. So, Firepaw has just become Yellowfang's poop shoveler. It's poop. They're talking about poop. Ugh. I needed you guys to know what that meant. Especially in that context. Where are we? Yes, Bluestar, mewed Firepaw, his head bowed in submission. Clear away her dirt, he thought to himself. Ugh. Ugh. Mocking meows came from Dustpaw and Sandpaw. Good idea, hissed Dustpaw. Firepaw had better be good at cracking fleas. And hunting, added Sandpaw. That sack of bones is going to need feeding up. Enough, Bluestar interrupted them. I hope Firepaw will find no shame in caring for Yellowfang. She is a healer, and she is his elder. For those reasons alone, he should respect her. She shot a sharp glance at Sandpaw and Dustpaw. And there is no humiliation in caring for another cat when she is unable to take care of herself. This meeting is over. I would like to speak to my senior warriors alone now. With that, she jumped down from the high rock and marched toward her den. Lionheart followed her. The other clan cats began to move away from the high rock. Sorry. Sorry. Woo! That one got caught in my throat. One or two congratulated Firepaw on being chosen as Bluestar's apprentice. Others mockingly wished him luck after looking after Yellowfang. Firepaw felt so dazed by Bluestar's announcement that he just nodded blankly. Longtail padded up to him. The V-shaped nick that Firepaw had cut into the tip of his ear still showed. The young warrior drew back his whiskers into an ugly snarl. Well, I hope you'll think twice about bringing strays back into the camp next time, he sneered. Like I said, outsiders always bring trouble. Wow, that was chapter 8. We're getting through these. No! No! Don't clip me having fucking going bleh. I get mixed up with my words. I'm trying my best. I need Wilbur. Chapter 9. I'd go and see to Yellowfang if I were you, whispered Greypaw as Longtail strode away. She doesn't look very happy. Firepaw glanced over to the old she-cat. She was still lying beside the high rock. Greypaw was right. She was glaring at him. Well, here goes, he mewed. Wish me luck. You'll need the whole of Star Clan on your side for this one, answered Greypaw. Call out if you need a hand. If she looks like she's going to get you, I'll sneak up behind her and whack her on the head with a stiff rabbit. Firepaw purred with amusement and trotted off toward Yellowfang. His cheerfulness quickly evaporated as he neared the injured queen. The old cat was clearly in a terrible mood. She hissed a warning and showed her teeth. Stop right there, kitty pet. Firepaw sighed. It seemed he was in for a fight. He was still hungry and beginning to feel tired. He longed to curl up in his nest for an afternoon nap. The last thing he wanted was to argue with this pitiful clump of fur and teeth. You can call me what you like, he mewed wearily. I'm just following Bluestar's orders. You are a kitty pet, though, aren't you? Yellowfang wheezed. She's tired too, Firepaw thought. There was less fire in her voice, although her spite was as strong as ever. I used to live with 2 legs when I was a kitten, Firepaw replied calmly. Your mother a kitty pet? Your father a kitty pet? Yes, they were. Firepaw looked down at the ground, feeling resentment burn inside him. It was bad enough that the members of his own clan still viewed him as an outsider. He certainly didn't have to answer to this foul-tempered prisoner. Yellowfang seemed to take his silence as an invitation to go on. Kitty pet blood is not the same as warrior blood. Why don't you run home to your 2 legs now instead of looking after me? It's humiliating, being fussed over by a low-born cat like you. Lots of cat racism in this. They love cat racism in this. Firepaw's patience ran out. He snarled. You'd feel humiliated if I were warrior-born. You'd feel ashamed whether I was a precious she-cat from your own clan or a wretched 2-leg that had picked you off the ground. He lashed his tail from side to side. It's the fact that you need to rely on any cat that you find so humiliating. Yellowfang stared at him, her orange eyes very wide. Firepaw carried on fiercely. You're just going to have to get used to being cared for until you're well enough to look after yourself, you spiteful old bone bag. Damn, Firepaw. He stopped as Yellowfang began to make a low, harsh wheezing sound. Alarmed, Firepaw took a step toward her. The she-cat was trembling all over, and her eyes had narrowed into tiny slits. Was she having some kind of fit? Look, I didn't mean, he began, before he suddenly realized she was laughing. She goes, meow, meow, wow, wow, wow. She mewled, a purr rumbling up from deep inside her chest. Firepaw didn't know what to do. You have spirit, kitty pet, Yellowfang croaked, stopping at last. Now I'm tired and my legs hurt. I need sleep and something to put on this wound. Go find that pretty little medicine cat of yours and ask her for some herbs. I think you'll find a goldenrod poultice would help. And while you're at it, I wouldn't mind a few poppy seeds to chew on. The pain is killing me. Stunned by her change of mood, Firepaw turned quickly and sprinted towards Spotted Leaf's den. He had never been in this part of the camp before. With his ears pricked, he padded through a cool green tunnel of ferns that led into a small grassy clearing. A tall rock stood at one side, split down the middle by a crack wide enough for a cat to make its den inside. Out of this opening trotted Spotted Leaf. As usual, she looked bright-eyed and friendly, her dappled coat gleaming with 100 shades of amber and brown. Firepaw shyly mewed a greeting and reeled off Yellowfang's list of herbs and seeds. I've got most of those in my den, replied Spotted Leaf. I'll fetch some marigold leaves, too. If she dresses her wounds with that, it'll keep off any infection. Wait here. Thanks, Firepaw mewed as the medicine cat disappeared back into her den. He strained his eyes, trying to catch a glimpse of her inside, but the den was too dark to see anything. He could only hear the sounds of rustling and smell the heady scents of unfamiliar herbs. Blech! Cat seizure? No, she was just laughing. Spotted Leaf emerged from the gloom and dropped a Spotted Leaf emerged from the gloom and dropped a bundle folded in leaves by Firepaw's feet. We got there, team. Tell Yellowfang to go easy on the poppy seeds. I don't want her to deaden the pain entirely. A little pain can be useful, as it will help me judge how well she's healing. Firepaw nodded and picked up the herbs with his teeth. Thanks, Spotted Leaf, he mewed through the mouthful of leaves, then headed back through the fern tunnel into the main clearing. Tiger Claw was sitting outside the warrior's den, watching him closely. As Firepaw trotted over to Yellowfang, carrying the herbs, he could feel the amber-eyed stare burning the fur on the back of his neck. He turned his head and looked at Tiger Claw curiously. The warrior narrowed his eyes and looked away. Firepaw dropped the bundle beside Yellowfang. Good, she meowed. Now before you leave me in peace, find me something to eat. I'm starving. The sun had risen 3 times since Yellowfang had entered the camp. Firepaw woke early and nudged Greypaw, who was still asleep beside him, his nose tucked under his thick tail. Do you need a minute? Maybe I do. Hold on. Give me a fucking second. I need a break. It was one of those things where, like, the page couldn't fit that whole word, so they have to hyphenate it. That shit always fucks me up when I'm reading out loud. Ugh. Anyways. Wake up, Firepaw mewed. You'll be late for training. Greypaw lifted his head sleepily and growled in reluctant agreement. Firepaw prodded Ravenpaw. The black cat opened his eyes immediately and leapt onto his feet. What is it? He mewed, looking around wildly. Calm down, Ravenpaw. It's time for training soon, Firepaw soothed. Dustpaw and Sandpaw began to stir too, and there were mossy nests on the far side of the den. Firepaw stood up and pushed his way out of the ferns. The morning was warm. Firepaw could see a deep blue sky through the leaves and branches that overhung the camp. Today, however, a heavy dew glistened on the fern fronds and sparkled on the grass. Firepaw sniffed the air. Greenleaf was drawing to a close, and soon it would start to feel colder. Greenleaf is summer, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew that. Greenleaf is summer. So here's the seasons, okay? Just so you guys know. Greenleaf is summer. Leaf, what is it? Leaf fall? I think it's leaf fall. Greenleaf is summer. Leaf fall is autumn. Duh. Leaf bare is winter. And new leaf is spring. How could we possibly know that? I just don't know. I don't know if I explained it last time, okay? Those are the seasons. Anyways. He lay down and rolled in the earth beside the tree stump, stretching his legs and tipping his head back to rub it on the cool ground. Then he flipped over onto his side and looked across the clearing to see if Yellowfang was awake yet. She had been given a resting place at the other end of the fallen tree where the elders gathered to eat. I remember just adapting the language from the books at one point. Yeah, you get used to it after a while. Her nest lay tucked against its mossy trunk, out of hearing of the elders, but in full view of the warrior's den across the clearing. Firepaw could just see a mound of pale gray fur rising and falling in time to a gentle rumble of sleep. Greypaw trotted out of the den behind him, followed by Sandpaw and Dustpaw. Ravenpaw appeared last, with a nervous glance around the clearing before he emerged fully into the open. Another day looking after that mangy old flea bag, eh, Firepaw? Mewed Dustpaw. I bet you wish you were out training with us. Firepaw sat up and shook the dust from his fur. He wasn't going to let himself get annoyed by Dustpaw's taunts. Don't worry, Firepaw, murmured Greypaw. Bluestar will have you back in training before long. Perhaps she thinks a kitty pet is better off staying in camp, tending to the sick, mewed Sandpaw rudely, tossing her sleek ginger head and throwing him a scornful look. Firepaw decided to ignore her barbed comments. What is White Storm teaching you today, Sandpaw? He mewed. We're doing battle training today. He's going to teach me how a real warrior fights, Sandpaw replied proudly. Lionheart's taking me to the great sycamore, mewed Greypaw, to practice my climbing. I'd best go. He'll be waiting. Itchy. I'll come with you to the top of the ravine, mewed Firepaw. I have to catch breakfast for Yellowfang. Coming, Ravenpaw? Tigerclaw must have something planned for you. Ravenpaw sighed and nodded. then followed Greypaw and Firepaw as they trotted out of the camp. Even though his injury was completely healed, he still seemed to have a little enthusiasm for warrior training. "Here," mewed Firepaw. He dropped a large mouse and a chaffinch onto the ground beside Yellowfang. "About time," she growled. The she-cat had still been sleeping when Firepaw entered the camp after his hunting trip. But the smell of fresh kill must have woken her, for now she had pulled herself into a sitting position. She dropped her head and hungrily gulped down Firepaw's offerings. She had developed a massive appetite as her strength returned. Her wound was healing well, but her temper remained as fierce and unpredictable as ever. She finished her meal and complained, "The base of my tail itches like fury, but I can't reach it. Give it a wash, will you?" With an inward shudder, Firepaw crouched down and set to work. As he cracked the plump fleas between his teeth, he noticed a gang of small kits tumbling in the dusty earth nearby. They were mauling each other and play fighting, sometimes quite viciously. Yellowfang, who had closed her eyes as Firepaw groomed her, half opened one eye to observe the kits as they played. To his surprise, Firepaw felt her spine stiffen beneath his teeth. He listened for a moment to the tiny yelps and squeaks of the kits. "Feel my teeth," Broken Star mewed one small tabby. He leaped onto the back of a little gray and white kit, who was pretending to be the Shadow Clan leader. The two kits bundled toward the high rock. Suddenly, the gray and white kit gave a mighty heave and flung the tabby from his back. With a startled squeak, the little tabby cannoned into the Yellowfang's side. Instantly, the old she-cat leaped to her feet, fur on end, spitting violently. "Stay away from me, you scrap of fur," she hissed. "My goat! She's my goat! Don't worry, she's still my goat! She just doesn't really like kids." The tabby kit took one look at the furious cat, turned tail, and ran. He hid himself behind a tabby queen who was staring furiously across the clearing at Yellowfang. The gray and white kit froze where he stood. Then, paw by paw, he cautiously backed away toward the safety of the nursery. Yellowfang's reaction had shocked Firepaw. He thought he'd seen her at her most vicious when they fought after their first meeting, but her eyes burned with a new rage now. I think the kids are finding it hard being confined to camp," he mewed cautiously. "They're getting restless." "I don't care how restless they are," growled Yellowfang. "Just keep them away from me." "You don't like kits?" Firepaw asked, curious in spite of himself. "Did you ever have kits of your own?" "Don't you know medicine cats don't have kits?" hissed Yellowfang furiously. "But I heard you were a warrior before that," Firepaw ventured. "I have no kits," Yellowfang spat. She snatched her tail away from him and sat up. Anyway, her voice suddenly lowered, and she sounded almost wistful. Accidents seem to happen to kits when I'm around them." Hold on. I need to blow my nose. Like, I can't fucking, like, do it anymore. My nose is so stuffy. Ugh. Ah! There wasn't as much snot in there as I thought. Feels like there is, though. Feels like there is. Let's see. Her orange eyes clouded with emotion. She laid her chin flat on her forepaws and stared ahead. Firepaw watched her shoulders sink as she released a long, silent sigh. Firepaw looked at her curiously. What could she mean? Was the old she-cat being serious? It was hard to tell. Yellowfang seemed to swing from mood to mood so quickly. He shrugged to himself and went on with the grooming. "There are a couple of ticks I couldn't pull out," he told her when he had finished. "I should hope you didn't even try, you idiot," snapped Yellowfang. I don't want any tick heads embedded in my rear, thank you very much. Ask Spotted Leaf for a little mouse bile to rub on them. A splash of that in their breathing holes, and they'll soon loosen their grip. I'll get some now, Firepaw offered. He was glad of a chance to get away from the grumpy cat for a while, and it was certainly no hardship to go and see Spotted Leaf again. He walked toward the fern tunnel. Cats crossed the clearing around him, carrying sticks and twigs in their teeth. While he had been grooming Yellowfang, the camp had grown active. It had been like this every day since Blue Star had announced WindClan's disappearance. The queens were weaving twigs and leaves into a dense green wall around the sides of the nursery, making sure that the narrow entrance was the only way in and out of the bramble patch. The other cats were working at the edges of the camp, filling in any spaces in the thick undergrowth. Even the elders were busy, scraping out a hole in the ground. Warriors filed steadily past, piling pieces of fresh kill beside them, ready to be stored. Grumpy cat. Ready to be stored inside a newly dug hole. There was an air of quiet concentration, a determination to make the clan as secure and well supplied as possible. If Shadow Clan made a move on their territory, Thunder Clan would shelter inside the camp. They would not let themselves be driven from their hunting grounds as easily as Wind Clan had been. Darkstripe, Longtail, Willowpelt, and Dustpaw were waiting silently at the camp entrance. Their eyes were fixed on the opening to the gorse tunnel. A patrol was just returning, Dusty and Pawsore. As soon as the warriors entered the camp, Darkstripe and his companions approached and exchanged words with them. They slipped quickly out of the camp. ThunderClan's borders were not being left unguarded for a moment. Firepaw headed down the fern tunnel that led to Spotted Leaf's den. As he entered the clearing, he could see Spotted Leaf was preparing some sweet-smelling herbs. "Can I have some mouse bile for Yellowfang's ticks?" Firepaw mewed. "In a moment," replied Spotted Leaf, pawing 2 piles of herbs together and mixing the fragrant heap with one delicately extended claw. "Busy?" Firepaw asked, settling down on a warm patch of earth. "I want to be prepared for any casualties," Spotted Leaf murmured, glancing up at him with her clear amber eyes. Firepaw met her gaze for a moment, then looked away, and an uncomfortable feeling prickling at his fur. Spotted Leaf turned her attention back to the herbs. Firepaw waited, happy to sit quietly and watch her at work. "Right," she mewed at last. "What was it you wanted, Mousebile?" "Yes, please." Firepaw stood up and stretched each back leg in turn. The sun had warmed his fur and made him feel sleepy. Spotted Leaf bounded into her den and brought something out. She held it gingerly in her mouth. It was a small wad of moss dangling on the end of a thin strip of bark. She passed it to Firepaw. He tasted her warm, sweet breath as he took the bark strip between his teeth. "The moss is soaked in bile," Spotted Leaf explained. "Don't get any in your mouth or you'll have a foul taste for days. Press it onto the ticks and then wash your paws and a stream, not with your tongue." Firepaw nodded and trotted back to Yellowfang, feeling suddenly cheerful and tingly with energy. Ooh, he likes her. Ah. "Hold still," he mewed to the old she-cat. Carefully, he used his forepaws to press the moss onto each tick. You may as well clear my dirt now that your paws are already foul," she meowed when he had finished. "I'm going to take a nap," she yawned, revealing her blackened and broken teeth. The warmth of the day was making her sleepy too. "Then you can go and do whatever it is you apprentices do," she murmured. When Firepaw had cleared away Yellowfang's dirt, he left her dozing and made his way to the gorse tunnel. He was keen to get to the stream and rinse his paws. "Firepaw!" a voice called from the side of the clearing. Firepaw turned. It was Halftail. "Where are you off to?" meowed the old cat curiously. You ought to be helping with the preparations. I've just been putting mouse bile on Yellowfang's ticks, replied Firepaw. Amusement flickered through Halftail's whiskers. So, now you're off to the nearest stream. Well, don't come back without fresh kill. We need as much as we can find. Yes, Halftail, Firepaw replied. He made his way out of the camp and up the side of the ravine. He trotted down to the stream where he and Greypaw had hunted on the day he had found Yellowfang. Without hesitating, he jumped down into the cold, clear water. It came up to his haunches and wet his belly fur. The shock made him gasp, and he shivered. A rustle in the bushes above him made him look up, although a familiar scent had reached his nose told him there was nothing to be alarmed about. "What are you doing in there?" Greypaw and Ravenpaw were standing looking at him as if he were mad. "Mouse bile," Firepaw grimaced. "Don't ask." "Where are Lionheart and Tigerclaw?" "They've gone to join the next patrol," answered Greypaw. "They ordered us to spend the rest of the afternoon hunting." Halftail told me the same thing, Firepaw mewed, flinching as a chilly current of water rushed around his paws. "Everyone's busy back at camp. You'd think we were about to be attacked any moment." He climbed up onto the bank, dripping. "Who says we won't be?" mewed Ravenpaw, his eyes flickering from side to side, as if he expected an enemy patrol to leap out of the bushes at any time. Firepaw looked at the heap of fresh kill that was piled beside the two apprentices. "Looks like you've done all right today," he mewed. "Yeah," meowed Greypaw proudly. "And we've still got the rest of the afternoon to hunt. Do you want to join us?" "You bet," Firepaw purred. He gave himself a final shake, then bounded into the undergrowth after his friends. Firepaw could tell that the cats back at camp were impressed with the amount of prey the three apprentices had managed to catch during their afternoon hunt. They were welcomed back with high tails and friendly nuzzles. It took them 4 journeys to carry their bumper catch to the storage hole the elders had dug. Lionheart and Tigerclaw had just returned with their patrol, as Firepaw, Greypaw, and Ravenpaw carried their last load into the camp. "Well done, you 3, meowed Lionheart. "I hope you've been busy. I hear you've been busy. The store is almost full. You might as well add that last lot to the pile of fresh kill for tonight, and take some of it. Back to the den with you. You deserve a feast." The 3 apprentices flicked their tails with delight. "I hope you've not been neglecting Yellowfang with all this hunting, Firepaw," Tigerclaw growled warningly. Firepaw shook his head impatiently, eager to get away. He was starving. He had obeyed the warrior code this time and not eaten a morsel while he was hunting for the clan. Nor had Greypaw or Ravenpaw. They trotted away and dropped the last of their catch on the fresh kill that already lay at the center of the clearing. Then each of them took a piece and carried it back to their tree stump. The den was empty. "Where are Dustpaw and Sandpaw?" asked Ravenpaw. "They must still be out on patrol," Firepaw guessed. "Good," meowed Greypaw. "Peace and quiet." They ate their fill and lay back to wash. The cool evening air was welcome after the heat of the day. "Hey, guess what?" mewed Greypaw suddenly. "Ravenpaw managed to squeeze a compliment out of old Tigerclaw this morning." "Really?" Firepaw gasped. "What on earth did you do to place Tigerclaw? Fly?" "Well," Ravenpaw began shyly, looking at his paws, "I caught a crow." "How'd you manage that?" Firepaw mewed, impressed. "It was an old one," Ravenpaw admitted modestly. "But it was huge," added Greypaw. "Even Tigerclaw couldn't find fault with that. He's been in such a bad mood since Bluestar took you on as her apprentice." He licked his paw thoughtfully for a moment. "Hang on. Make that since Lionheart was made deputy." "He's just worried about Shadow Clan and the extra patrols," mewed Ravenpaw hastily. "You should try not to annoy him." Their conversation was interrupted by a loud yowl from the other side of the clearing. "Oh no," Firepaw groaned, getting to his paws. "I forgot to take Yellowfang her share." "You wait here," mewed Greypaw, leaping up. "I'll take her something." "No, I better go," Firepaw protested. "This is my punishment, not yours." "No one will notice," argued Greypaw. "They're all busy eating. You know me, quiet as a mouse, quick as a fish. Wait here." Firepaw sat down again, unable to hide his relief. He watched his friend trot away from the tree stump to the pile of fresh kill. As if he were carrying out orders, Greypaw confidently picked out 2 of the juiciest looking mice. Quickly, he began to pat Hold. Wait. Quickly, he began to pad across the clearing towards Yellowfang. "Stop, Greypaw!" a loud growl rumbled from the entrance to the warrior's den. Tigerclaw strode out and marched over to Greypaw. "Where are you taking those mice?" he demanded. With a sinking feeling in his stomach, Firepaw watched helpless from the tree stump. Beside him, Ravenpaw froze mid-chew and crouched over his meal with his eyes wider than ever. Greypaw dropped the mice and shuffled his paws uncomfortably. "Not helping young Firepaw by feeding that greedy traitor over there, are you?" Firepaw watched Greypaw study his paws for a moment. Finally, he replied, I was just feeling hungry. I was going to take them off and eat them by myself. If I let that pair get a look in," he glanced at Firepaw and Ravenpaw, "they'll leave me with nothing but bones and fur." "Oh, really?" mewed Tigerclaw. "Well, if you're so hungry, you might as well eat them here and now." "But," Greypaw began, looking up at the senior warrior in alarm. "Now!" growled Tigerclaw. Greypaw bent his head quickly and began to eat the mice. He demolished the first one in a couple of bites and swallowed it quickly. The second mouse took longer for him to eat. Firepaw thought he'd never manage to swallow it, and his own stomach clenched in sympathy, but eventually Greypaw gave a final, difficult gulp, and the last bit of mouse disappeared. "Better now?" asked Tigerclaw, his voice smooth with mock sympathy. "Much," replied Greypaw, stifling a burp. "Good." Tigerclaw stalked off again, back to his den. Greypaw slunk uncomfortably back to Firepaw and Ravenpaw. "Thanks, Greypaw," Firepaw mewed gratefully, nudging his friend's soft fur. "That was quick thinking." The noise of Yellowfang's yowl rose into the air once more. Firepaw sighed and got to his paws. He would make sure he took her enough to see her through the night. He wanted to turn in early. His stomach was full and his paws were tired. "Are you okay, Greypaw?" he asked as he turned to leave. "Ow," moaned Greypaw. He was hunched into a low crouch, squinting with pain. "I've eaten too much." "Go and see Spottedly," Firepaw suggested. "I'm sure she'll find something to help." "I hope so," mewed Greypaw, tottering slowly away. Firepaw wanted to watch him go, until another angry yowl from Yellowfang sent him sprinting across the clearing. I think we're gonna call it early today, because my throat is killing me. But that's not too bad. We're like almost halfway through this book. So, thank you guys for hanging out with me today, even if it was for a little bit. We had a nice little kickstart today. What was I gonna say? We have a couple more streams. Yeah, sorry me, man. We're turning it for the night because my throat's killing me. But we have a couple more streams. Next stream is gonna be this Wednesday. I want to try and do more consistent like afternoon streams. So it's gonna be at 3. We're gonna be playing Mouthwashing on Wednesday. I've been wanting to play this game for a little bit. And then we'll have another gun day on Sunday. And that'll be really fun! Yeah, that's gonna be it pretty much. We have a movie night. We're watching Spirited Away this week. That's it. Because we wanted to watch another Ghibli movie. Because Porco Rosso was really freaking good. So, I heard that game made someone cry. I can believe it. It's heavy, I've heard. Very heavy. So, we'll see. Well, guys, I'm gonna turn in for the night. Because my voice is killing me. So I'll see you guys next time, okay? Bye! Bye-bye!